directive than the deforestation regulation. So this was adopted. The European Commission adopted a proposal for a directive on corporate sustainability due diligence in February 2022. The directive basically establishes a corporate due diligence duty. So what are the core elements? What is about this corporate due diligence duty? It's a duty to identify, bring to an end, prevent, mitigate, and account for negative human rights and environmental impact in a company own operation, their subsidiaries, and their value chain. This is a very important sentence that we will unpack and see the implication on the coffee sector during the next slide. So basically the aim, the overall, we say this is part of the Green Deal, so it's part of policy initiative to ensure that the EU works in the right direction towards the green transition. But the aim specifically of this directive is to foster sustainable and responsible corporate behavior that anchor into human rights and environmental consideration in really the everyday operation of the company as well as in the corporate governance. And also to ensure that business address adverse impact of their action. So they do their best to identify, not to say that it's impossible to have zero impact, but you identify and you address this negative impact, including in the value chain operation inside and outside Europe. And
Dr. Martina, Dr. Martina, we cannot see move your slide. Can you move your slide?
You cannot see my slide?
We see only the first page of your slide now. I hope that you are moving your slide.
I was moving, so yes, so something went wrong. Okay, let me try again. Do you see it now?
Yes,
the
yes.
Right slide.
Yes.
Okay, now moving. Hopefully you see the slides moving.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, and you see, like I put in the slide also links, but information about this directive is easily found also on the website of the European Commission. So we have now framed the aim. So to iterate the material scope of the due diligence directive, really focus on human rights and environmental impact already included in international convention. There is an Annex 1 of this directive that lists all these international conventions, and also that large EU company need to have a plan to ensure that their business strategy is compliant with limiting global warming to 1.5. So where was this commitment made? But all but two governments of the world in Paris during the Conference of Parties of the UN Convention on Climate Change. So basically that also the companies participate to the government commitments in limiting CO2 emission and help the fight against climate change, to say it in straight word. So what is the scope? What is the scope of this directive? Who is this directive directly addressing to? Company in scope are large EU limited liability companies, without going too much detail. So the large company with over 500 employees, a very large turnover in Europe, mid-sized company between 250 and 500 employees, with also turnover and in working in high-risk sector, high risk in terms of possible violation of human rights and environmental impact, in particular minerals, agriculture, hence the link also with the coffee sector and textile, but also non-EU company with large turnover, according to the first two groups in Europe. Now, you may be thinking, that's very interesting, but then what this has to do with farmer organization, with smallholder farmer cooperative in exporting country? Because we see this is not in the direct scope of the directive. You remember what I said in the very first slide. Is it true that medium, small, micro enterprise and cooperative not working in Europe and also the European are not directly concerned by this rule? But the due diligence obligation extend to their own operation, as well as establish direct and even indirect business relationships. And that's why it's very important to know about this directive and to get prepared along the whole value chain. And that's why it's important in the ongoing discussion to hear and to include the voice of farmers cooperative, farmers group, farmers association. And we will see in a bit what is this OECD due diligence process. So basically, how does this human rights and environmental due diligence work? They directly refer to the 6-step OECD due diligence. And basically, this is also to emphasize that the due diligence is not about taking a one-off action, ticking a box. It's about a process for company to think about their responsible business conduct, to try to embed in their business conduct governance some policies about, that help them in enhancing human rights compliance, enhancing the way they monitor and the impact on the environment and so on, and identify and assess this adverse impact. And this, I hope you see while I talk, links to what was said. There are synergies between these different directives. In fact, they fell under the same umbrella of the EU Green Deal. So, we need to get ready on these different instruments, but there are also some synergies. So the discussion that was made before on data collection, this is very important and also have an impact on compliance for this directive. Of course, to also seize, prevent and mitigate adverse impact, track, communicate, and provide for cooperate. Now, in order to be able to do this, we need a participatory human rights and environmental due diligence exercise. No one single company in the value chain can do this alone if it doesn't cooperate with the partners along the value chain. And also some of the issue when we talk about human rights and environment are systemic, are root causes. So we need cooperation with the private and public sector, especially when we talk on root causes. Now, we saw what this directive is about. We saw who is in scope of the directive and why this also relates to farmer association, such as yours. Now, where do we stand and why? You may be feeling, why I heard so little about this directive compared, for example, with the deforestation regulation. One of the reasons is also the timeline. So, this is a actually shift more into the future. That's probably one of the reasons. The final test is still under negotiation, and that's related also to one of the points that were raised by the previous speaker, Mr. Wolfgang from ICO. We need to get ready, though even if the text is not final, even if there is some question mark still open, we need to get ready, though we acknowledge the difficulty in getting ready to something that is not 100% defined yet. The final text is coming soon, and once adopted, that's how it works. So here we are talking about EU level, but the EU is made by member states. So once the text will be final, then the EU member state, so think about a big coffee importer, Italy, my home country, will have 2 years to transpose this into national law and communicate the exact text. So there will be even some little differences between the different states, but let's not go into this detail and complicate even more. But it is unexpected that the directive will not enter into force for exporting country and for the in-scope companies in Europe before 2026. Now, 2026 seems far, but it's not. And we need to get ready because of the potential impact and because of the coordination is required. So we need there are positive impact foreseen of the regulation. So those actors that will align will have more opportunities to export in Europe because there also exists export potential. This was already partially discussed in the previous presentation. So export potential towards Europe, improve production processes, improve compliance to the human rights and environmental regulation, also stronger collaboration, because this can also be seen as a push for the different actors of the value chain to collaborate. You remember when we saw this graph, So, the different actors need to collaborate to identify and assess adverse impact, but also to provide and cooperate together to address such impacts along the value chain. Of course, there are also some risks. Risk, for example, that the importer will gravitate towards destinations that comply and may leave behind those importers, importing regions, countries that are a bit more risky of breaking the rule. And of course, there are also a very important discussion on the cost. This is costly. How do we share the cost around the value chain? Who bear the cost? Is it credible to say this will all go to the consumer? Probably not. So how this will be sorted? Now, very important that this directive foreseen an Article 14 that say, okay, this directive comes with very good intent. It has some foreseen positive impact, but also some risk of unintended consequence. So there is an article dedicated to the provision of accompanying measure. So it say, okay, as European Commission, partners, the different organizations need to identify support for this company as well as value chain partner to fulfill their obligation. And here it's also an article that linked to the importance of dialogue. So if there is a dialogue and farmer organization will say, okay, I understand this is coming. I understand what this is about. This is what I need of support in order to be ready to comply. And here starts a discussion with the value chain actors, with the public sector, with potential funder to see what are the best way to support. And that's actually embedded in the proposal itself. Now we are doing in partnership with, you saw at the beginning all the logo, so in support with DG IMPA, the European Commission, and also we are grateful to find on the Africa, Caribbean and Pacific State Association Organization, the ACP. We collaborate with the International Coffee Organization, so and that's another collaboration very important with CLAC, which are doing similar pilots in Latin America and the Caribbean. CLAC is the organization of producers linked to fair trade in the Latin America and the Caribbean, and we also acknowledge funding from the Netherlands, the trust fund of the Netherlands, the government of the Netherlands. And that's very, very important to say because we see already the commitment of the European Union, of the member state to support getting ready. Now, in a dialogue, this is a free resources, is available online. I spoke about a dialogue on accompanying measure. How do we frame the accompanying measure? There is a dialogue that there is a document that has been done through a participatory process, and that's included in this dialogue the voice of also farmer associations. So basically combine a top-down with bottom-up approach. What does it mean? It means that we take into account the voice of big roaster, big European roaster that import and their mapping of the value chain, as well as in some cases starting from the exporter, the cooperative, and working with them to map the value chain and to start from there to hear about the necessity and what is needed to comply. So I would encourage to go and see this document that help framing the discussion on accompanying measure and how to discuss. This is not part of the official directive, proposed directive, but there are 8 categories of accompanying measure. So one can say, okay, I need accompanying measure that relate to developing practical tool for supply chain. Or there are accompanying measures that has to do with impact investment in supply chain finance. So there are 8 families of accompanying measure. And then these 8 families will we can frame a discussion under this. So we do this pilot that are really case study to say, okay, there is this directive. We want the value chain actors to collaborate. We want the value chain actors to have a constructive discussion on accompanying measure, what is needed, what is the priority, and what who finance what. So in order to generate a space of dialogue around human rights and environmental impact, we call this pilot that provide practical example. So as I was saying, in some case, we started by talking with the big roasters in Europe, mapping their value chain, reaching out to their value chain partners, and then start different activities related to this topic. In other sector, we did the contrary. So we started from the cooperative, and we then moved to the roaster, all the value chain. Now, the idea is that the value chain sit together and say, we identify this priority in terms of accompanying measure. Now, how we concretely address them, who does what. So the idea is to foster, as a neutral convener, what we call a value change-based action plan that defines roles and responsibility for the identified accompanying measure. These, of course, also entail leveraging on co-investment, leverages on supporting each other from a practical point of view and financially, and identify who pays for what. We cannot do this and have only the private sector doing this. As I say, when we speak about, for example, child labor, which is under this directive, this is not something even a big trader, a big roaster, a cooperative that does its best. It cannot do alone. You know, there are root causes of child labor that need to be addressed with the support of public sector. Hence, the important to really collaborate and involve also support institutions that work locally, NGO, public sector, the ministries and the local public sector entities. And this is also important because, as I say, we have among our partners the Africa, Caribbean, Pacific State Secretariat, the European Commission, in particular the IMPA. They are listening. They are not just funding, they are participating in the pilot. They are hearing the voice of the cooperative, of the, in an event like this, the feedback gatherers are reported back. Very often they also participated directly in such event in order to have these feedback loops to help also designing future support and take this into account in the programmatic work. Now, in the pilot, we didn't go in depth into capacity building already. We really focus on understand and convene. This is an example of event done within the pilot, how you can get ready about something you don't know. So as part of the pilot is to enhance understanding about this directive, to let actors know this directive is coming, because you need to get ready. And as I was saying, in order to get ready to something, you have to be aware. And also, of course, how do we get the different actors at the table together in an inclusive voice? We say, okay, farmers cooperative are not in the direct scope of the directive. Does it mean their voice doesn't count? Of course, their voice count and count a lot, because they are still, and we saw how indirectly, cover very much. I have to say, we have global pilot activities that also cover Asia, but the core of the pilots at the moment is focusing on Africa, and through collaboration with the Caribbean Latin American Producer Association related to fair trade, also we cover the Latin America and the Caribbean. The pilot focus on coffee and cocoa, and with one in textile. So what do we learn so far? We learned that we need a dialogue that goes both bottom up and top down. Again, what does it mean? It means that we need to engage with the importer, the roaster, and map the value chain starting from there, but also the other way around. So start mapping the value chain, start a discussion from the cooperative point of view, from the smallholder farmers point of view. For example, in one of the pilots in Uganda, we start mapping the value chain from one of the biggest roaster based in Italy, and then we collaborate. Lavazza has been collaborating with us in the pilot. In other pilots, like the pilot in Ethiopia, we started discussing with the cooperative and then mapped the value chain the other way around. There is a consensus that we need to evolve beyond individual voluntary effort for sustainability. So let's not forget, here we are talking about now a mandatory framework. So it's an evolution that what happened in the past, and we need to get ready. The timeline seems far, but it's not. You know, these are topics that need preparation. So when we talk about a timeline of 2026, end of 2026 probably, but still we need to anticipate the risk, and we need to hear the producer, hence events like this, to inform but also to collect information. There are tools and material that are existing in order also to facilitate a communication space. For example, last April, after doing several activities, we invited delegation from the pilot, from different value chain actors in Brussels, in order to them propose what are the accompanying measures needed the most. It cannot be Martina that go 3 days in mission somewhere, come back and say, oh, okay, I understand everything about what accompanying measures are needed the most. We really need to engage with actors like you, with actors that bring to the table, understand what this is about, and bring to the table their view on what accompanying measures are needed the most. And of course, issues such as how we distribute the cost of the value along the value chain, these are extremely important. Just to conclude, I would like to say that context matter. We cannot generalize. We cannot say, okay, this accompanying measure is the one needed from everyone, but we saw some trend. So you remember I had the list of pilots before, and we saw, when they came and when they discussed what accompanying measure are there for them, the most important one, what they need, and then we start to discuss how to really operationalize those. We also see some common trend, and here you have an example. In dark blue, you see, remember these 8 categories are the family of accompanying measure, and below each of these, I put a concrete one that the different actors agree that is generally needed. And this goes from more macro, and actually some of these are very strongly related with the work to be done under the deforestation regulation. Take the second. For example, establishing national traceability system, including farmer registration. This is a strong link. And then there are also activities related to transparency, advocacy, and consumer awareness. For example, consumer has to be aware. If you go to an average Italian consumer, you explain the directive, you will ask, do you agree with it? They say, yes, of course. I want to enhance human rights and decrease my environmental footprint. Okay, great. Are you willing to pay 10 cents more your coffee? No. And no, this doesn't work. So you need to raise awareness on some consumer that this is a cost. And in terms also, for example, on the different actors, you have to understand that the context is relevant, and you cannot get ready in something that you don't know. So you have to inform the different actors this is coming. And this is not an easy task. Sometimes there is even language barrier about this. But then we cannot ask actors to get ready if we don't raise awareness about this. So what next? Next is to continue raise awareness about this directive as well, to try to leverage on synergies with other national policy, with the preparation done for other directive regulation, such as the deforestation regulation, and really try to foster this dialogue, inclusive dialogue. And I want to stress the word inclusive along the value chain, where the different actors get together to really try to work together around this 6 step of the OECD due diligence framework that we saw before, and work together for this. Now, this was quite a quick overview for a complex directive, but I hope it enhanced some awareness around this, and I remain at disposal if there are further questions. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Martina. No, though the whatever you discuss here is very informative, very relative, but some of the issues are still very hard to know the capture for our side. I hope that all of the participants are enjoying your know the basis, the whatever you deliver, particularly the due diligence and the relationship with the human rights and environmental the due diligence work. And if I take your last point, the more consultation, more the discussion on the issues of the new things, particularly the Article 14s, and the due diligence framework, the and also the pilot and whatever you the lesson learned from for both piloting, the both the bottom up and the top up, the requirements, and the emerging priority, the uh, particularly the due diligence, supply chain, research, the whatever you mentioned, the 8 points of the procedure, the emerging priorities. I think our participants are well, the accepted all of the issues, but so far they have some of the comments. I hope that in the question and answer point, all of the participant can, if there is a possibility to, they can also raise the question. Thank you for your nice the presentation and join with us. Now I would like to request for the comments and some of the discussion point from the ACF, or the Asian Coffee Federation, is Pasita Huan. So if you know, the kindly um, open yours. This. Yeah, thank you so much, Huan.
Yes, good afternoon. I hope you
Good
can
afternoon.
hear me well. Well,
Yes.
I wanted to also quickly introduce the ASEAN Coffee Federation because, of course, you have the Asian Farmers Association, but for the ASEAN Coffee Federation, just quickly who we are. And I don't know. I think Junie can operate the slide, please. So we're 12 years old now. We are actually established in 2010. And as you can see in the screen, we represent these coffee organizations in Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. So there are coffee associations in each country, and in some countries we have 2 associations represented. Okay, next. So we really wanted a common platform, knowing that ASEAN is actually, as you said, we have 2 of the biggest producers of coffee, Indonesia and Vietnam. And so we want to have a common platform so we can discuss topics that affect the region and to share whatever information we have about coffee. And of course, we want to promote ASEAN coffee to the world. So we thought that, by coming together, we would be better equipped to promote ASEAN origins. Next, please. So some of our corporate members, so they're not just coffee associations, but of course we have coffee equipment suppliers, coffee companies, big coffee houses, and also machine manufacturers like Grupo Chimbali, Bun, and milk like Friesland Campina, and as well as equipment manufacturers from Vietnam, Vina Nha Trang. So these are our corporate members. Yes, next please. So what we have been doing for the last 10 to 12 years is really having coffee events in all over ASEAN. And we are lucky to be partners with a lot of trade show organizers. So we have coffee shows in Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam. We also are able to auction coffees from ASEAN. For the last 4 years, we've had the ASEAN Barista Team Championship and our ASEAN Coffee Institute, which we formalized last year. We have certification programs and coffee grading under the ASEAN Coffee Institute. So you can say that our activities intersect with the different actors in the coffee value chain, from producers, companies, baristas, and consumers. Next, please. So I'm sure the ICO has records of the production of all these countries under ASEAN, as we saw in the slides shown by Mr. Wolfgang at the start of our meeting. So I'll go quickly on this, on coffee production, which are of course approximate because every country has a different authority who supplies the data for coffee production. Next, please. And coffee exports, you are correct. It's from Indonesia mostly and from Vietnam, because the others, next slide, please. The other countries, I might say, is we drink so much coffee. Coffee, for example, in the Philippines, we hardly really export anything because our local consumption, our domestic consumption is increasing every year. Next. Okay, so Thailand and Vietnam, and the possible support that you can expect from ASEAN Coffee Federation is probably to for us to reach out to our members representing all the ASEAN producers and members of the coffee value chain in the region. We've met with Prome Cafe of Latin America and the Inter-African Coffee Organization. So you can expect us to be active in the ICO task force work stream for living prosperous income. And potentially we can set up coffee talks from the producer countries to the consuming countries. So briefly, that is the ASEAN Coffee Federation. And if you are asking for our reactions to this new regulations on CSR, on the deforestation, I must say that you must also appreciate the fact that in Asia, for example, the Philippines, we're already the second per capita consumer of coffee in Asia, next only to Japan. So the local markets here in our Asia Pacific region is growing, I might say, exponentially, double digits every year. So I cannot say much about the European exports except for Vietnam, which will be dealt with by Vietnam Cooperative, I think. And also with Indonesia, their coffee consumption domestically is also rising. So you can see that there will be probably less coffee going outside the Asian region. So that's my reaction for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Pasita. You are the opening a new issues that whatever the production in ASEAN, the countries, there is the internal market also is increasing. So yes,
I would think also in
uh,
India, it's the same thing, and with
yeah,
your population, definitely we are exporting less and less because our own people are drinking the coffee. And then also for logistics, for practical reasons, it is easier to ship around ASEAN, especially with the uh, ASEAN free trade agreement, so that it's almost like a contiguous area for
right,
ASEAN
right,
and ASEAN Plus. So we really, I would say, we really make domestic consumption so easy that I would say domestic and regional consumption is really pushing the the uptake or the how coffee is consumed in our region in Asia. So
thank you.
I'm not saying we will not export to Europe, but it's really
Mhm.
with the growing interest in Asian coffee consumption. There's North Asia with China also importing a lot of coffee, Taiwan, Japan, and Korea. We're hard pressed to even produce enough for our own
Right.
countries.
I think we so far some of the question and answer session the times so far our all of the members they can be the have question to you also regarding your support regarding your the activities with the ASEAN Coffee Federation. Now I would like to request to know the Vietnam Coffee Cooperation Board, Miss Nian, for your the reaction regarding the two important presentation from Dr. Martina and also the world. Uh, so we've gone, and also the the reaction from the Asian Coffee Federation, Miss Pasita Hua. So, Miss Nian, are you there? Your time is 5 minutes. If you know give us some of the reaction from your side, the Vietnam Coffee Corporation Board. Miss Nian, Junie, can you check this? Miss Nian is here. If not, Judy, can you hear me?
Yes,
Or
I'm checking Amir. I think he is dropped.
okay,
Yeah.
if Miss Nian is not in here, we can know the go for the question and answer from the participant because of we already know the around the time. So I think Nian is here, right? Hello, hey
Uh,
Miss Nian. Yes, time for you. Only 5 minutes time, no, for you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry. Maybe a little bit different in spelling my name in Vietnam is Nhan, so I cannot
Sorry for my
yeah. First, I'm really sorry, but I didn't prepare a PowerPoint presentation. For this, I would like to introduce a researcher on the Institute of Policy and Strategy for Agriculture and Rural Development in Vietnam. And I am also the secretary of the VCCB, the Vietnam Coffee Coalition Board. And the issue of the EU regulation on forest deforestation is a very important issue have just emerged for the coffee sector in Vietnam, and a lot of meetings have been organized between the EU delegation, between MART, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, with the private sector, with the local authorities, and with the relevant stakeholders to find out the impact of this due diligence, this relegation on the coffee sector in Vietnam, and what we should prepare for relevant action to meet the requirement from the EU. And in Vietnam, we divide coffee area in to three level of risks on the deforestation. With the safety area, that means a very low, no risk at all. That means the coffee area in the center is far from the forestry. It's in the garden of the farmer, in the civilian area. So it seems that no risky for deforestation at all. And for the second level, the middle risk of deforestation, coffee area. That means, in fact, it's this land for the coffee for quite a long time, but sometimes the data is still be not clear, and this is the data for this area, and the high level of risk for deforestation and coffee area. That means it's very close. The coffee land is very close to the forest area, and this area still accounts for about the 20-30% of total coffee area in Vietnam, and we need to put some more efforts on these areas. And I think that the regulation, EU regulation, has impact in all the sector, but it's more on the small and poverty farmers. As you may know that if we the farmer want to meet the regulation, they need to have some kind of the database, digital data for their land that is totally not forest land, something like that. And we need time and financial source to get all this data. And now that's still a big issue. Some coffee land, that means the coffee have been planted for even for 15 years, but in the map, in the data, it's still count for the forest land. So it's also a big problem. And the problem why I mentioned that the regulation have a more negative impact on the life of small farmer here is the poor and for many of them are the ethnic minority farmers who live very close to the forest, and they also tend to live more on the area with the high risk of deforestation area. And they also have the farmer who have less financial source and other source to get the digital data and for some kind of certification for agricultural land and coffee land and so on. So I think it will be more difficult for them to produce coffee and to export their coffee to the final market is EU. And to prepare for the relevant action to meet this requirement of EU, I think up to now many agencies, both from the government and from the private sector, doing a lot of things, like they to review, to assess the current situation, the gap between the current situation of Vietnam with the requirement from the EU, and the impact to this regulation on farmer, on other stakeholders, and the ministries of agriculture and rural development also have a plan to develop a national action plan to meet all the EU requirements. Of course, it's some kind of general plan for 7 commodities, not coffee only, but I think coffee is one of the most important commodities on this issue. It's just some sharing from my point of view from Vietnam.
Thank you.
And, yeah.
Thank you. My apology for not pronounce your name correctly.
It's okay, maybe.
Miss Chan.
So
You know that you raise some of the issues that the smallholder farmer of Vietnam are so far the is problem of the data, particularly the smallholder farmer, because of they are less resources person, and Vietnam government and also the coffee board are looking for the how to meet up the EU regulation. Nicely you mentioned about whatever you right now is doing. So thank you so much for your the contribution here. So now I would like to request to all of our participants this is time for the question and answer, because of we already within a very short time, we heard a very important some of the points of the due diligence, the Article 14, and also the deforestation, the impact, how to impact this kind of the smallholder coffee producing farmer. So I hope that all of our participants, you have many questions to our valuable presenter. So if you raise your question, no, and if you wanted to know about who will be the answer for your question, uh, I think that what your question and what you wanted to know from the from which person, no, it will be good for us. You can use our chat, no, chat box, and Juni, if I know the request you to please check the chat box if there is any question from, I think from Indonesia, one of the question, no. Um, if there is any question from Juni, if you help me to uh, yes, Lenny, you are raise your hand. Yes, Lenny, you can.
Yes, thank you very much for the very insightful presentation. My question is both for Wolfgang and from Intrasend, no, on how, as mentioned, no, by Miss Wan and Miss Nan, ASEAN is not very much export, except perhaps for Vietnam and Indonesia, but very much net importer, no, not exporter. So my question first for Wolfgang from ICO perspective and from Intrasend, on what possible support can we give to producers? I understand there's a pilot country, but mostly in Africa. Can there be some a pilot also in Asia? No, so that's my one question. I am not sure if it's ICO or Intrasend. No, and of course, while we are not importer, as mentioned by Miss Pasito Juan, there's exponential growth in demand. So perhaps we are importing, no, more. So if we are importing, then we are also competing, no, to get products in our countries. So will we be more attractive because we do not have this guideline, or what is the projection for the ASEAN countries which are also importing coffee, no? Because we have much demands, and all this demand cannot be taken care by our production. So some countries are even importing. So what is the potential implication of this? So these are some of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lenny.
But
Yes.
Martina, would you like to go first on the pilots from ITC?
Yes, sure. So first of all, thank you for this question. So maybe I start, I hope you can hear me well. Maybe I start from the inside that is it true that the pilot at this stage, focus on Africa and Latin America and the Caribbean. But as you saw, there has been several global level activities. Asia is of course very, very important, as you say, not only for the export, also for as a consumer perspective. So several of the insight of the pilot that we are giving are also to be considered for the upcoming and future programmatic approach of European Commission, other development agency, international organization, NGO, to create also collaboration in the value chain. And in this, of course, Asia play a very important role. On the role of consumers, and aside the export, the fact that some countries are net importer and consumer. What we saw, and I think was also saying the presentation by our partners from ICO, is that the trend towards sustainability is a global and thankfully so trend. So this is coming. This is coming in the USA, in North America. We've seen, and we have also been requested to give presentation on this because they are looking at the possibility to adopt similar regulation, and in Asia. So this is really a global trend towards sustainability. So even from the policy consumer side, I think there are very important insights to learn. So that would be my main answer. So I hope this satisfies your question. If not, I'm happy to come back to this more in detail. Thanks.
And maybe from my side, from the ICO as intergovernmental organization does not implement per se pilots or projects. We only, via the task force, of course, and will facilitate different pilots between producer countries and the industry. So and the international cooperation, development cooperation, to see where this is possible. On the EUDR, it's rather urgent, as we have seen from the the very tight deadline. So we definitely will take into account the Asian region as well, because that gives then a good overview across the different producer countries in terms of the preparedness. So I think definitely pilots will need to happen, and reflect the different scenarios of production in the different producer countries. It's not the same, and even within the same country, there might be different scenarios. So that's important in terms of the whole trade aspect. Of course, Pasita asked that sort of even producer countries, of course, are also importers of coffee. Yes, I think any regulatory framework, of course, can alter that, but as Martina just outlined, sustainability by now is not a nice to have, and it's not just, I think, a request from consumers. I think it's also fundamental for producers in the end. And there was one question in the chat, of course, from Laos about, will producers and farmers be then recognized for the additional effort for compliance and all these requirements? So I think that's a fundamental question that the sector has to answer. That's why, as outlined always, all stakeholders along a supply chain and a value chain have to work together. Governments, the industry, the producers, everyone involved to make that work for the farmers in the first place. Because if it's just a due diligence compliance push down sort of measure, then I think it will be very, very difficult for you as farmers to really see then the value. So this discussion needs to happen alongside the about how to be comply, how we can get prepared. And that has to happen in each and every country with your national stakeholders in the coffee supply chain to make it work, and that in the end the objectives of any sustainability measure on human rights, on environmental protection, on social protection, and so forth, are actually are being achieved for all, for the farmers and for the consumers. So I think that's always important. So we don't have winners and losers, and some then will just be forced to sell their coffee and production to other destinations that are all of a sudden less stringent on sustainability compliance, but in the end won't benefit the farmer either, because either the price paid is too low, or the farmer jeopardizes its his or her long-term sustainability of the farm.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Martina and Wolfgang, for your response on the question of Lenny. And I don't see any, the hands right now. One chat, the one message from food that the coffee market in Laos are very diverse. At the farm gate, there are already many types of the market for different types of beans, such as cherry bean, black bean, parchment, green bean. The new market with more requirements have to offer higher profit for the farmer at the farm gate. However, sometimes with some requirements, the profit margin does not goes to the farmers level related to the production cost, which is the case. Yes, you're right. Mm, and any other our friends from the the forum, if there is any question from your side. Uh, in the country like Nepal, so for NSCCFL from Kajol is right wrote here. In the country like Nepal, where there is no traceability system, how we can ensure traceability to know that the particular coffee production are not linked to deforestation. So Wolfgang, or the how can you, or Dr. Martina, who is like to know the answer of the question from Kajol, that Nepal there is a no traceability system. So how they ensure the traceability, the particularly the link to the deforestation.
Well, maybe I can start on that. And of course, it's one of the crucial, issues that has to be addressed. What kind of traceability system are already in place in each and every country? And that, of course, will be a highly charged discussion, I would say, over the next 15 months, because what we always want to avoid is, having then some producers actually not being able to comply because of technical issues like, traceability system. And as I said, on my slide, you see it's very data and information heavy at the outset, because that's where it starts, on the farm. So if you don't have the data, and the information, well, you can't do the subsequent steps for, then the due diligence statement and so forth, and the coffee can't be imported into the EU. So again, I think this has to be addressed in each and every country on a stakeholder level. So you as farmers, know exactly what is already in place, what can be provided, and not just that it can be provided, but we as ICO also very much insist about data sovereignty and data ownership of producer countries, and you as farmers and producers of that data and information. So there are many sort of aspects associated then with this any regulatory framework, but that they have to be discussed, and you have to be in these conversations. You have to raise your voice. You have to be heard, so that it's not just that you're so to speak at the receiving end of regulations, and you are just asked to comply, but without any insights about what does that mean for your, the ownership of the data you share. And again, to the previous comment about the value sharing. So if a higher compliance requirement will also be recognized and in what you get paid for the coffee.
Thank you for your answers, Wolfgang. So I think I already know the exceed 30 minutes time for the session one. And so from we will collect all of the question from our participant, farmer participants. So whatever the reaction from the very the difficult issues right now, whatever right now they're experiencing. So we will collect the question from the farmers, and please allow us we will send it to you, so that if there is any the answer from your side, you will be give us, and we will communicate with our farmers next time, because we need many times for discussing about the new rules and regulations. So sorry for the late. For the our next session is the World Coffee Conference. No, the session 2 is moderated by Juni. I would like to request Juni to take over the session.
Yes, thank you, Amir. So let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, so good afternoon and good morning, everyone. Again, thank you for our first session speakers for a very informative discussion. So for this session, our second session will be focusing on the 5th World Coffee Conference, which will be conducted in Bangalore, India on September 23 to 30, 2023. So to proceed, first let us have the background of World Coffee Conference 2023. So the organizers are the International Coffee Organization, Coffee Board of India, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, and Karnataka. So again, we are very lucky, we are fortunate to have this event so that we can deliver our key messages. So thanks to the Coffee Board of India as well as the International Coffee Organization for giving us this opportunity to raise and to cite our recommendations in terms of coffee value chain engagement. So for this year, the WCC 2023, it will bring together leaders and decision makers from more than 100 countries to discuss, debate, and collaborate towards building a sustainable coffee industry. So in this event, we will also have, aside from the leaders and decision makers, we will also have different stakeholders such as the coffee processors, coffee market, and also different coffee producers globally. So we also have the multinational companies that will be attending this event. So for this year, our theme will be the sustainability through circular economy and regenerative agriculture. So this is a one-week event which will include a 3-day conference and business-to-business exhibition, skill building workshops, global CEO conclave, and a plethora of networking events. So to proceed in this event, so our engagement to this event, particularly our coffee producers members, is first to deliver the key messages and recommendations during the Growers Conclave. So on this event, the result of this consultation meeting will be shared, will be discussed during the 5th World Coffee Conference. And also we will be selecting one speaker to represent the Asian Farmers Association and to speak in terms of coffee production and processing, marketing, trading in terms of Asia. And also we will be we aim to have collaboration and continuous engagement with the key players in the coffee industry. So in this session, in this event, we aim to have more partnerships. We aim to have a deeper knowledge on the trading and knowledge platforms that will be presented during the entire event. And third is to enhance the awareness, exposure of coffee producers on the different levels of coffee value chain engagement. So under this one, we aim to have to participate on the recent advancement in AI or artificial intelligence and Internet of Things tools and applications in coffee value chain. Also, we aim to attend the discussion on environmental sustainability, circular economy, and regenerative agriculture, climate change and mitigation strategies, and also innovations on the coffee value chain. And last, we are still planning on having a exhibit space wherein our coffee farmers in Asia can promote their products. So these are the 4 target engagement of AFA during the 5th World Coffee Conference. So for the just a quick background on the activity. So for the 5th World Coffee Conference, it will start on September 23 and it will be a visit to exotic coffee plantations. So on 23rd and 24th, there will be a exotic coffee plantation visit and heritage sites of Karnataka. And on the 25th, there will be an inauguration of 5th World Coffee Conference and Expo, followed by keynote address by high-level dignitaries and global coffee experts. Then on the 26th, there will be global leaders forum, conferences, and panel discussion, workshops, and competitions. On the 27th, this will be the continuation, but different activities and topics. So again, there will be conference, panel discussions, workshops, and some championships. And on the 28th, so this will be the time allotted for us, for the Asian Farmers Association, to deliver the key messages and the key output of this consultation meeting. So we will summarize it and then we will deliver it during the event. So we are given 15 minutes to speak during this session. And on the 29th, it will be 136th International Coffee Council session. And on the 30th, it will be a visit to exotic. So in case you have missed the first 2 days of the visit, then you can still join on the 30th of September for the exotic coffee visit and heritage sites. So for the conference, you can see here on the 26th of September, there will be some discussion on the circular economy and regenerative agriculture, also financing mechanism and opportunities for the coffee sector, startup and innovation in coffee value chain. And also, there is a simultaneous event at 4:30 p.m. on coffee quality and specialty coffees and coffee and the new generations. On the second day of the conference, which is September 27, there will also be some discussions on the climate change and mitigation strategies, environmental sustainability, recent advances on AI and IoT, partnerships, trading, and knowledge platforms. And also on the at the other hall, there will be a simultaneous discussion on the coffee consumption, growing importance of Robusta and coffee blends, living income, farmers' prosperity, and also coffee and the new generations. So for this one, the workshop, so I think for the workshops, it should be like $100 per farmer per session. So we have this on September 26th, the same time during the conference. So they will have the rise of alternative milk, everything brewing, and on the 27th, they will have 3 simultaneous events, simultaneous topics. So there will be topics on coffee community, sample roasting, alternative fuel for future, cooperative venture, and some panel discussion. Also, there will be some basics of barista championship preparation, blending, and profiling Robusta. And this part for the growers conclave, so this will be done on September 28th, where we will deliver the output of this consultation meeting. So we are still finalizing and also coordinating with the Coffee Board of India, and we hope to finalize who will be the speaker of our speaking session for this event until tomorrow. So we will inform the speaker that will be representing during the 5th World Coffee Conference. And last will be the exhibit. So we are still mobilizing resources for this one. It will be $200 per square meter. So we will still discuss how we can set up our booth or our space in case we will be availing this activity. So I think that would be all for the 5th World Coffee Conference. So in case you have any questions or some recommendations, please feel free to type it in the chat box. So now, thank you, and back to you, Miss Bernie and Amir.
Thank you, Junie. Thank you very much. It gets exciting, no? So maybe just a quick summary. I think all our presenters for session 3 are here. So let me thank our presenters, Wolfgang, Martina, and our reactors, Pasita One and Miss Nian. Thank you, Amir Bai and Junie, for facilitating the first two sessions. So there are so many things brewing over my head, just like coffee. It's a flavorful brewing over here. So, but now is the time, as Martina mentioned earlier, what is important is for us to really be aware, to be informed, and to make ourselves included in the dialogues at all levels, national, regional, and global. And as Miss Pasito One mentioned, there is less export going outside of the region, and which also gives me this thinking that would we really be concerned about this? So these are all the things brewing over my head. But now let us hear from the producers, coffee producers themselves. Okay, so for the presentation, we are going to give you minimum of 5 minutes. I hope we can finish in 5 minutes your presentation in 5 minutes. If not, we will extend up to the 7th minute. I understand that Indonesia negotiated for 10 minutes. Let's see. Okay, so please pardon me, but on the 4th minute, I will call your attention and say, you are now on the 4th minute. On the 5th minute, I will say, please wind up. And on the 7th minute, please pardon me again, I will say, time is up. So that's when we proceed to the next speaker. So I hope you understand, because we would like to give opportunity for everyone to be able to share their piece. So now I hope everybody is here. We have presenters. The first one would be from the Philippines, from AgriCoop PH. So let us now call on Miss Rodora Pillarin. Miss Rhoda, the floor is yours. You are muted, by the way.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. So my name is Rhoda Pillarin. We are partners with AgriCoop PH, but I am from the Model Cooperative Network. It is a federation of cooperatives in the Philippines, and we are based on the island of Mindanao. So what we are going to present is actually from our experience. Yeah, we are not actually, disclaimer muna, we are not actually a coffee producer, but we are assisting a coffee producing cooperative. And so our presentation will be based from our experience with this cooperative. So I am referring to Bacopa Co-op. It is a cooperative of coffee farmers that is based in Bansalan, Davao del Sur, still in Mindanao, here in the Philippines. One thing about Bacopa is that they have been a consistent winner of the Philippine Coffee Quality Competition on the Arabica coffee category. That is because that could be attributed to the area where the coffee comes from. They are on the foothills of Mount Apo, which is the highest mountain in the Philippines. But aside from that, they also underwent a painstaking and long learning process on how to properly produce specialty coffee for Arabica. But of course, despite the success that the cooperative has experienced in terms of the coffee quality competition, there are a number of concerns and challenges that they are facing, and these are what we are going to present. Those concerns would focus first on the production and then on the market and distribution. First concern would be on production would be the weather uncertainties, which could be attributed to climate change. It used to be that during the summer months is when the coffee flowers produce flowers, and therefore the number of flowers would dictate the volume of coffee cherries that will grow, that can be harvested. This time around, there have been summer months where strong winds and heavy rains are also experienced, and even typhoons. So there are years wherein the coffee production would be starkly lower than what it used to be, or what it should be in the area. And yeah, so these uncertainties make it hard for the farmers to make investment decisions on whether they should, say, fertilize, or expand their coffee farms for that certain year. Secondly, of course, there's the increasing cost of production when it comes to labor, fertilizer, farm inputs, the fuel, and the transportation cost. Of course, fertilizer, the other inputs, and the transportation cost is caused by the rising inflation in the country, which is also caused by global events as well, and therefore beyond the control of the coffee producers. The increase in labor cost is mainly because of also the increase in the demand for coffee in the Philippines. As has been shared a while ago, we are a net importer of coffee, so therefore coffee buyers are scrambling for supply of coffee, and that uh, that puts a stress, an upward stress on the prices of coffee, and also on the services related to coffee. So labor cost is also increasing. But of course, all of this can be passed on to the cost of the coffee beans, or the roasted coffee that the cooperative can produce. The main problem would be the limited resources of the cooperative. And so that's why, despite the increase in the demand, the increasing demand for supply of coffee in the country, the cooperative has very limited capability to consolidate their members' produce. Therefore, they are not able to fully utilize, or fully fully enjoy the surging prices, because there are also other buyers as well that are buying directly from the farmers. Well, overall, that would be a good that seems to be a good market environment for the coffee producers. However, as we know, when individual coffee farmers directly
4 minutes now.
transact with individual coffee buyers whose interests are business and not really the welfare of the farmers, well, we would know there might be some unlevel playing field. So that's why there is a need for the cooperative to step up and leverage, the volume that they have in order to get better prices for their coffee. Next one would be, yeah, I think I've mentioned this before. Because of the limited resources and capability of the co-op, there's no institutionalized market mechanism in the community, so they can bargain for better prices. And lastly, there had been, since Bacopa is award winning now, so they are known for very good quality coffee, there had been false claims now from coffee roasters that they are using beans from
Sign up.
Bacopa. All right, is my time up?
Last 2 minutes.
All right, I still have 2 minutes. Okay, so we go now to the recommendations, and I think these are more important. First would be, there is a need to improve access to production and processing capital by the cooperative and their members. And ideally, we would want it to be a market-based mechanism instead of the dole-out models that's being done by government, NGOs, and donors now. And secondly, there is still a need to improve and develop access roads to far-flung areas. Arabica is planted in far-flung areas because we want they thrive in higher elevations. Well, the anti-insurgency project of the government has been making progress along this line, but there are still very far areas that have not been connected to the marketplace. So we hope an improvement along this line. And of course, there's the farmers would benefit from the introduction of more efficient and technology-aided production process practices, as well as sustainable models for coffee production, so that our young coffee farmers will continue to do coffee farming as well. The good thing with PCQC, with the coffee quality competitions in Bacopa, there are now a number of young farmers that became interested in tilling their coffee farms. And then lastly, there is a need to institutionalize quality assurance, traceability, and market protection mechanisms. So Bacofa is now applying for a trademark for their brand name, so that we can so that there will no longer be problems with false claims on their products. And of course, more voices from the farms in the coffee industry. The Philippine Coffee Guild that spearheads the PCQC are composed of people from the roasters, the business, and the industry. There is a clear lack of voices of the farmers in this industry group. And lastly, yes.
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna wrap up now. Yeah. Okay, so lastly, this is in reference to popular culture, and maybe when we say there is always peace in a cup of coffee, that would be a personal thing. But in Mindanao, where Bacofa is operating and some of the best quality coffees are produced, well, the coffee industry could really be a way to peace and development in the area. I guess that's all. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you, Rhoda. That reminds me of copy for peace, no, in Davao. Okay, so thank you for that. Let us now call on Mr. Suman Kalyan from IMSE of India. Are you here, Suman?
Yes, thank you,
Kalyan?
Bundy. Thank you, Bundy. I'm here. I'm just sharing my screen.
Suman, are you having
Yes,
problems
yes.
with your...
Just a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Please,
Okay.
please get ready, Miss Nguyen Tiviata. You will be next. So, Suman, do you need a little more time?
Yes. Actually, can't find.
Okay. Is it okay if we move to VNFU first, so that you can have time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Suman. Are you ready now for your presentation? Okay. So
Yes.
giving you the
So
floor
I will
first.
share my screen.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So good afternoon from Vietnam. Thank you very much for giving VNFU to share some information and recommendation in this event. And for Vietnam, as you know that we are the very big exporter of coffee So not only 7 products will be will be much impacted by the EU DR, but also the coffee is main product that is the have a lot of impact. Because you know that in Vietnam there are 20 provinces where we have the coffee cultivation area, but actually the coffee most of the coffee is cultivated in the Central Highland with around 91% of the cultivation. And with our member and farmer who involved in the coffee cultivation is about 600,000 farmer household, meaning that around more than 1 million farmers. But most of them have the plantation area is under 1 hectare per household, and the production area by 2022 around 710,000 hectares. That is the survey by MAT, and the major market.
Just a moment. Are you sharing
Yes.
screen? Are you sharing screen?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. Yes. Now we can see it. Thank you.
Are you share?
Yeah.
That
now.
is one. Okay.
Yeah. Now we can see it. Thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I just not check. And about 40% of total export volume to EU market. That is very big. That is why the EU deforestation regulation is have a lot of impact for our coffee farmers. And the barrier and difficulties for Vietnamese farmer, as I mentioned before, and especially by Dr. Nhan, he more mentioned about the application of high technology in digital data collection. That is the big limitation for our farmers, because most of them are ethnic minority and living in the near forestry area. So that is very important to increase their awareness on and also the skill in the data collection. And the other one is that because you know that is because we there are lack of the system, like a digital data system. That is why for many coffee cultivation area, the farmer cultivate the coffee for a long time, but it's very hard for them to prove that that is the area is the no deforestation. And and also our farmer are very small scale. 90% of the area owned of the coffee area owned by the family farmers. And as I mentioned before, the household who have less than 1 hectare per household occupied 63%. And for the household who have from 2 to 5 hectares per household, occupied only 9.7%. So that is very we have a lot of difficulties in identify the origin for the cultivation area. Next, please. And what we want to all the stakeholders to support our small scale farmers. For Vietnam Farmer Union, we will focus more on the awareness raising for farmers on the regulation and what impact to them. And we will focus on the negative impact and also the potential impact from that one. Because, you know, in Vietnam, there are three biggest coffee plantation area province in the Central Highland, like a Đắk Lắk, Lâm Đồng, and Đắk Nông. Only Đắk Nông, in Đắk Nông province, they have many difficulties, but the other one, the other two on, then maybe they can have more potential because they have a good sustainable value chain already on coffee. And the second one, we try to promote the linkage, the coffee value chain with the other stakeholder, like a government company, farmer, to improve the value chain, and so that the farmer can get benefit from that. And also in Vietnam, in general, and particularly in the coffee, we try to promote the collective economic form, meaning that we will improve the capacity of the cooperative on coffee, especially to help them play the role, the key role, and get benefit from the value chain. And of course, the raising awareness on the regulation for farmers, so that the farmer know very well their risks, and also what the government and also the stakeholder, the private sector and the farmer union can help, can go with them and help them. Next, please.
Is this your last slide?
And we try to give recommendation to the government to develop the policy to facilitate the geography indication area for coffee producer, as I mentioned before, especially for the digital data collection system, and also pay more attention on the how to simplify the procedure of land use certification, especially for the land they use for a long time for cultivating the coffee. But as mentioned by Dr. Nhan, that there's some area, they're not even that area is under the forestry planning area. So that we try to help the farmer simplify the procedure on that. And also we need much on the government to facilitate the platform among all stakeholders in the value chain, so that they can have more for our small farmers. Next, please. And for private sector, we try to encourage them and ask them for helping the farmer in provide the loan, the capital, and resource for using the digital data collection and even the capacity building for farmers. And link the coffee farmer with the all stakeholder, the institution and all stakeholder, to improve their capacity in production, operation, and access to the updated policy requirement of the market. Next, please. And for international and local organization, we really want to give recommendation to them to support our small coffee farmers, so that the farmer can have enough capacity in having the sustainable cultivation area, and the also the traceability system by some pilot project. I do know that EU and UNDP also support our MAT to organize to implement some pilot project on landscape and no deforestation area, so that we do hope that the farmer union can be involved in the activity, some activity of the project. And also which because it's a very new it's a new issue for especially for our Vietnamese small scale farmers. So we try to ask the international and local organization to give a consultancy on the procedure and start for recognition of the qualification cultivation area, so that the farmer can step by step meet the requirement. So that is the next. That is the what we want to keep the information and idea on the EUDR from Vietnam Farm Union. Actually, before prepare this PowerPoint, we try to consult with the farmer from Đắk Nông and Lâm Đồng provinces, especially the farmer union there, and they give us some recommendation and some requests. So, they cannot speak English, so I'm the person who talk to you by for them. Yes, thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's very interesting. We have okay, let me stop my timer. We reached 12 minutes, but that's really very interesting. Suman, are you now ready for your presentation?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
Sorry, that time I feel some technical problem. That's why.
All right. Please get ready. Rifai, you will be next after Suman. And after Rifai, we will call on Put, and we will call on Sofal, and then lastly.
Yes. Okay, Miss Bernie, I will call Mr. Pustiwa. will present.
Yes, I'm ready.
After Suman, okay.
Yes, I'm ready, Bernie. Don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So now back to you, Suman.
I could not share my
Sumanda, are you
screen.
to
I problem
flash your
sharing my screen.
Perhaps we can do the screen sharing. Junie, from your side, you have the copy of presentation of Sumambay.
Okay.
No, it's no. That's actually this is an updated copy. That's the problem. Okay, I'm going to sharing this screen. Is it?
Yeah, please.
We can see your screen right now.
Are you? This is what? Yes. This is
Yes,
visible?
we can see your screen. Yes, yes.
Yes,
but it is on the desktop. We are looking at your documents.
Yeah. Sorry, maybe that's good.
Okay. Junie said she can share. Would you like Junie to share instead of?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Junie, please share.
I am Suman on behalf of Institute for Motivating Self-Employment. It's not. Oh, sorry. Why this is not?
If you can please unshare your
Sumanda,
screen,
please
Suman.
unshare your screen so that, the Junie can share you.
Junie, you can share my updated. Can you share?
Okay. All right.
I share with you today updated document.
Yes. Yes, Suman.
Thank you.
Yes, Sumanda.
Okay, your 7 minutes starts now.
Yes. I'm Suman on behalf of Institute for Motivating Self-Employment, in short IMSE, presenting the farmers FPC of Bono Devota Farmers Producer Company. This is in Andhra Pradesh, state of Andhra Pradesh in India. This community are mostly tribal community of Andhra Pradesh. Their travel committee works in 4 blocks in Aliri district, which is in Andhra Pradesh. When they are the member of FPC comes from 80 tribal villages, and this is the 20 gram panchayats. They are mostly tribal communities. They are dependent on the coffee bean production. In IMSE is or only work in coffee producing groups is only one, and their total member of 400. Among them, 250 is male and 150 is the female. Actually, they don't have major access to the market because they do not involve in uh, value added or coffee powder production. They only grow as the beans growers. They grow the beans, and that beans they bound to sell to the middlemen because they do not involve in any activities, and they get very minimum price. Sometimes they sold without any processing beans, raw beans they sell to the berry they sell to the berry to the middlemen. Next. What kind of possible limitations and barrier that person might experience is the UDR. Actually, that tribal community they do not have a complete guideline. Even they some of them are minimum literate. They don't know even they did not receive any translated UDR guidelines. Even some community even did not listen about what UDR also. So they only depends on they are just farmers, producer, and sometimes depend on the government for some capacity building training. Major challenge is the lack of education, exposure, and they are unable to collect information and sharing among themselves. What is going outside their village? They don't know. Some tourist is goes there for this is also the some tourist place named Araku Valley. That Araku Valley is proper for visitors, but our farmers are totally excluded from that kind of value-added market of the coffee and coffee chain market. Another problem is lack of knowledge of international and national guidelines. Next, Juni. What kind of support and assistance we seek? Actually, we are the NFO, so we can give them if you receive the UDR guidelines, then you can translate it in the local language. That local, at first, this is the first priority that we can share with that community in their own language, because India is diversified countries. Their language is Telugu, maybe some others, their tribal language, which is not recognized, officially recognized by Indian government. But at least we can give them some translated version, or Telugu version of community. Another is the government. What can actually set up UDP guidelines monitoring committee? Even I have a doubt. Some government officials maybe don't know even what is UDP guidelines. So at first, we should sensitize the government, and there should be a monitoring committee, UDP, a member of the FPC, and farmers. That committee can support the farmers that to adopt the UDP guidelines for cultivation process and marketing and promotion, and to bring to step their foot in value large scale market like poultry market. Need some infrastructure tools, equipment, subsidized capacity building, market link, that kind of support needs from government. Private sector, only private sector, so many private sectors is there, but they need some valuation market opportunity, even the credit support, because credit is sometimes they depend on the middleman to get the lend, they borrow some money from middleman and they bound to sell beans to that middleman. This is the most challenging part. They even sell in loss to their product in loss. And international local organizations, APA, IPAD, EU, and so many like organizations, they can support in so many all all steps like production, awareness building, raising their livelihood support, financial support, even market linkage. They need all kinds of support because they are till they are now in the grassroots level. They without production, they don't have any kind of activities.
Sorry, please wind up.
This is ways to engage with ICO technical working group. This is the last slide. Through joint partnership with ICO technical working group, AFA and one of the pharmaceutical company can bring sustainable change in livelihood of coffee producers. We can work together on the promoting sustainable coffee production under UDR guidelines. I think that will cover the deforestation, challenges of deforestation, and livelihood opportunity the domestic coffee consumption we can, because in India, last now maybe #1 populated country in globe, but as per the population, we consume the less coffee. Building what we should first like, building a resilient coffee value chain to mitigate climate change and adapting sustainable agriculture on the Pradesh in India. Even we can get, if you get opportunity, we can work in across the country. Give us opportunity to share this. Board member of our FPC Banodevata, Mr. Narasingha Raoji is here. Mr. Narasingha Raoji, if you want to say something, if you want to put your recommendation here, you can speak. And even Dasuji, originally Dasuji, he is the mentor of their Banodevata community group. Is here. He's also here. Dasuji, if you want to, you can say something here.
Yeah. Say 1 minute. Narasingha Raoji. Okay. Actually, Araku Valley, it is last of 10 years, coffee product is starting with very good tasty. Araku coffee is famous in Andhra Pradesh and other states of India. So mostly tribal community, 99% people are working in coffee tribal community, both men and women. And there is no supporting actually in Araku Valley coffee. Most of middlemen, money lenders involved in coffee working, coffee marketing. So many people giving small rates. Market rates is very small rates. And actually one coffee kg, suppose 500 rupees in Indian money. So very cheap rate, 100 and 150. So middlemen and money lenders exploited the coffee. So definitely we are working Vanadevata farmers producer company working with IMSE, Kolkata based organization, and there are a lot of problems in farmers, coffee farmers issues in Araku Valley. Definitely we will in future work with you and better rate they will farmers will get in future also. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dasuji.
Yeah, okay. So we hope we can taste the coffee from Andhra Pradesh when we get to India. So now we have a request.
Barney, you're welcome. You're welcome, Barney.
Okay. So Pakostiwa, Put of Lao is requesting whether he can present ahead of you. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So you will be next, Put. Are you ready to present now?
Yeah. But I should be check my screen.
Okay.
You're here. Juni, can you help me to show the presentation?
Pakostiwa, is it okay, Lao? Put can present first, and then you will be next. Is
Okay.
that okay?
Sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Put, the floor is yours, and we will call Pakostiwa later on.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And sorry, I have to go. In Lao Farmer Network, we have 8 farmer organization now today that produce coffee with a total areas of about 6,500.
Are you sharing screen, Put?
No, sorry.
Okay.
About 8,500 hectares. And with that, we sell many type of beans, cherry, fresh bean, and also dry cherry bean we call black bean. Then we sell parchment and green bean. Very little that the group can produce roasted bean. For export, only green bean only. Out of 4,000 tons of green bean that we produce every year, 2,700 tons export to Europe. And meaning that about 1,300 tons export to other places like USA, Japan, Hong Kong, Thailand. To Vietnamese market, mostly black bean, not green bean. So EU is a main market, about 60% of export of green bean to EU. EU country, including Sweden, French, Belgium, three countries. And the green bean they export are organic, have organic and fair trade certificate. No GI yet, only 2 certification. I think there are many issues on the coffee sector. One is, coffee for smallholder farmer. It takes time, 3-4 years to plant the trees, and poor people, they don't have time to wait for that. Many poorer farmers, they abandon the coffee plantation and they ship to something shorter circle like cassava, which require less taking care and less time, so they can get turnover quicker. So I think the main challenge is that how can we have market that have a quicker higher return, so that smallholder can decide to make such investment. Otherwise, I think coffee sector will benefit more and more to bigger farmers who have more fun and this capacity to adapt and too many challenges. I think in order to support smallholder coffee producers in Laos, and I think in other countries in the region, it's pretty much the same. We need to strengthening farmer or coffee producer groups and organization. Individual farmer alone, impossible to access to the better market. Most of the coffee producers in Laos, they are selling jelly bean or dry jelly bean that we call black bean in very cheap price. The main market Vietnamese buyer, and because they don't have to do much, only need to just pick any bean, even it's not red yet, green or whatever, and then they just dry it up. We believe whatever, no quality requirement at all, and then that's the easiest way of process of the half processing. But in order to do the parchment, we need small equipment to process jelly bean to parchment bean, and that's most of the smallholder farmer can do, because those machine are very cheap and available. But green bean impossible for individual to do, because you need a more like a milling machine, and then to dry it out and then storing it. So this can be only done with another level of farmer organization who have storage, who have fund to buy parchment bean from members, and who have able to connect to better market. I think if we want to strengthening the farmer groups to export to EU, we need to strengthening them at the farmer organization level, not individual level.
Wind up, yeah, loud.
So that the organization can have money to buy parchment bean from members, and then need to invest on facility like milling machine, sorting machine, very important sorting machine. We cannot like getting it shot by hand. It takes day to sort 1 kilogram of green bean, but with the sorting machine, very important. Sorting machine, milling machine, grading machine, storage, and then and fund or to buy or this parchment and to process it. And then I think we need to strengthening the group to establish better internal control system that they can have the good traceability system and also certification system that meet the requirement of the buyers. Especially, we just mentioned the new one on deforestation for EU market. I think that will be adding up also another, not calling burden, but it's requirement that need investment and for the group to establish with the member at the farm level. I think that's it. I think we need to help the group to get stronger, so they have good internal control system, have the fund, have ability to buy bean for member, and have the good facility, especially milling, sorting machines, storage. Yeah. Thank you very much, Bernie
Yes.
and everyone.
Yes. Thank you so much, Put. So I think now Kustiwa is ready. Would you like Junie to share your screen?
No, I can share by.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. You please share your screen.
Yeah, did you see my screen?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Just a minute.
Please prepare Sofal, because you will be next. After Sopal, the last will be Kajol. So that in that order.
Yes. Thank you, Bunny. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Can you see my screen now?
But it's only half, or is it only?
Only half. Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay. I get problem with this. What's the problem?
Junie can share screen.
It's slideshow.
I have opened already my screen, but
Slideshow.
You have double screen. Are you using two screens, Kustiwa?
yeah, I have
So you have to
already.
drag it completely to the other side.
This is my original screen.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me just close my screen there. Okay.
Okay. Your 7 minutes starts now.
Yes, thank you very much. I will try to maximize my time, and I try to switch on my stopwatch. Yeah. Okay, so this is presentation on behalf of 3 organizations, SPI, FEI, and Jamtani. And I will be present very roughly for this area because of the key important slide in the three slide in the last. So this is in general the condition of the coffee production in Indonesia is more than 1,174 hectare in Indonesia, and also the larger more than 1.2 million. In general, coffee production still low. It is less than 1 ton per hectare, and dominated by people plantation, almost 96%. Employment in this area 1.9 million people, and mostly Robusta is the main variety, and 30% Arabica production. You can see in my screen. And in general, API member, it's more than 5,000, and also the number of production, it is more than 500 ton. And from SPI, from Jamtani, almost 600 member, direct beneficiaries, and more than 350 ton per year. And this is the data from SPI. The member more than 5,000, and also the production more than 11 ton per hectare. This is the challenges so far. Regarding the production and climate change, of course, it is not only in Indonesia, but I think overall of the world. It is impact of the productivity, sustainability of coffee or palm level is very low. And facility to value added, financial access and market, and also the policy, geographic situation, infrastructure, transportation costs, etc. And the strategy to cover these challenges, so far, we provide like capacity building, focusing to productivity improvement, pest control, and climate mitigation. And also provide support to quality and value added and processing facility, development harvest processing unit on palm level or crops, and develop or strengthen farmer economic institution, partnership with other stakeholder, market networking, and promotion. And also building evidence to engage with available government policy and program. And actually in Indonesia, regarding the deforestation, we are a little bit rejected for this point of view, because of mostly coffee plantation, coffee cultivation, we plant under the tree. You see in the picture, so the tree is a big tree, combined like macadamia, avocado, jackfruit, etc. So coffee is one commodity recommended for reforestation. So little bit different point of view for this context. And this picture also show to us the processing from cherry bean up to green bean and roasting bean, and also ready to package. And also like SPI and PI, they have also like small coffee to enjoy the coffee products from a real farmer. Now the important one from my side. So we have rest time for Pak Ripai or Rakib. Potential impact from UDR, policy to smallholder producer in Indonesia, from our point of view. The first in majority of coffee, more than 90% produced by smallholder. I think in all Asian country also. And the second one, improvement. Smallholder producer has not position in this context, and UDR counterproductive to improve smallholder producer prosperity, and need to look at other factors such as large corporation, and additional cost to certification and verification for small producer. Market access with UDR will impact to market access for small producer. I think Indonesia also a big market is EU, and inequality in implementation. UDR has the potential for inequalities in implementation and compliance, and infrastructure and technology limitation. In certain areas, smallholder still face limited infrastructure and access to the technology needed to meet the UDR requirement. That the point of view from us. And what kind of assistance? The first, that the implementation of UDR does not ignore the right of coffee farmers, especially land right. And the second one, strengthening education and training on agroecological farming practices. Small-scale farmers have access to clear and comprehensive information about UDR. Financial support to provide subsidies to help cover the costs of implementing new practices. And last slide, support to small producer related certification process and capacity building, develop market access, help to small producer to get market access in according to UDR requirement, appropriate technology to sustainable farming for small producer to reach UDR requirement, and develop sustainable evaluation and monitoring mechanism to identify of areas that require by small producer intervention support. In regards policy advocacy, involved in policy process to influence policymaker related regulation to support small producer. And the last one, government must monitor big company activity to ensure that they did not involve in deforestation. That's all from my side. I think maybe we have time, 6 minutes 40 seconds, and maybe Pak Rifai or Rakib, could you like to comment, please? 2 minutes. Pak Ripai, Pak Rakib, you have comment?
I think
Yes.
it's enough, Kustiwa.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This is very
yeah.
comprehensive. Thank you to the team of Indonesia.
Yeah. Now I stop my stopwatch.
Yeah, okay. So thank you so much. Now we are calling on Sofal for the presentation for Cambodia. Sofal, are you ready with your presentation?
Yes, Bunny.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much for allowing me to present the small farmer producer group in Cambodia. So I am present the coffee, the representative of a farmer organization that produce coffee in the southern of Cambodia.
7 minutes, Sofal.
Yes, you see?
Yes.
Okay, coffee paper middle career agriculture cooperative established in December 31, 2014. Yeah, we had a member of 145 member total, and we have only 95 member are produce coffee in 75 hectare. And the products that we can collect annual amount of 262.5 metric ton. This coffee also we can sell the both of coffee in a bean and powder. The production that we use all packaging the coffee sent to the city in the Phnom Penh for selling to the Eon, and then also the average of the selling the powder of and bean coffee, the both of variety Robusta and Arabica amount of 1,500 kg per month. Yes. Regarding to SE have no enough product to export, so they do not need a requirement for EU they ask, but the farmer member of agriculture cooperative growing coffee not affected to the land grabbing and deforestation because the farmer growing coffee in the title of the land that we offer by the government only. We cannot land grabbing and deforestation of the coffee. Yeah, and then we during the produce the coffee, the farmer also meet the challenge, some challenge, no suitable market price for farmer to selling, lack of capital to purchase from member during the harvesting coffee, have no way how to stock product for member, especially the coffee we can stock in harvesting season, and then 3 months or 6 months more we can increase the price. The farm not yet become to agroforestry to protect wind when coffee have a flower. When coffee have the flower, when with strong wind, so the coffee we deduct all the production, all the yield, yeah. Increase price for transportation, yeah, because right now the gasoline also we high ups the price. So the transportation from the field to the agriculture cooperative is increased price. The farmer said we do not know not yet on the EU DR guideline, but we need to support from all stakeholder and donor. The NFO level, we need to NFO to support technical marketing and fund for purchase a product of the farmer, such as this agriculture cooperative. Also, we got fund from ARAI to purchase coffee from the farmer. He have happy to get the fund from the ARAI and then to purchase coffee from the farmer. The farmer also happy when we sell the coffee. He get the money from the government side. He need to support government to support fund to support warehouse by the project of the government to processing and transportation and also the marketing side. For the private sector, he said that he need to private sector to market access especially contract farming. And then for the private sector, for MFI, we need low interest rates, and no collateral from the farmer. And the loan also, we need to so long for the production capital, such as 3 year or 4 year to harvesting, and then to pay back to the MFI. Yeah. For the international and the local organization, he need to support the technical support, marketing strategy, especially packaging for selling to the market. The last way to engage to ICO technical working group. The first one, he said that he can conduct attending the quarterly meeting or 6-month meeting to sharing experience with the technical working group of the ICO. And another one is respect to the guideline of the EUDR and ICO, and also he can testing for export if we have opportunity. Just thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sofal. You got only 5 minutes and 16 seconds. Thank you for managing your time. Okay, now we have our last presenter from the farmer side. Please take the floor, Kajol Bajracharya from Nepal.
Yes, thank you, Bernie. Let me share my presentation. Mm. Mm. You see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it. So we will start your 7 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Bernie. So I will start my presentation regarding. So I will present a short profile of our coffee production in Nepal. So our the coffee which is produced in Nepal is purely organic and sustainable farming practice. So their coffee is free from the pesticides and the dangerous chemicals. So due to which it has the distinctive flavor profile and it's only produced in small amounts. And the Nepal coffee has been registered. The brand of Nepal coffee has been registered in EU and other 7 markets, including US, Hong Kong, Norway, Sweden, South Korea, Japan, and Canada. So the coffee of Nepal is popularly known as the Himalayan beans, and some of the exporters have also acquired the collective trademark for which and the trademark has helped the coffee to boost their marketing in the international market also. So the current situation of Nepal in coffee production, it is considered as the high value cash crop in Nepal. As if you see the global comparison, the US dollar, the 6 million US dollar is only generated from Nepal from the coffee production. And all Nepali coffee are the Arabica variety. And so these are grown above the 1000 meters to the 1600 meters altitude. So there are more than 31,000 small farmers, coffee producers in Nepal who who produce the coffee in altogether 46 hectare of land and producing 354 metric ton in a year. So out of 354 metric tons, 70% of the 70% of the coffee is domestically consumed, and the number of coffee producing district is 44, which is out of 77 district. And in the recent year, so the total export of the coffee is 69.5 metric ton. So in this exporting coffee, more than 15 districts include districts has been involved in the coffee export. So regarding the coffee production within our network, so within our network there are 15 agricultural cooperatives who are involved or we can say the members of those cooperatives are involved in the coffee production. And so there are more than 2,000 small farmers, among which 9% are the commercial farmers. And from those 2,000 small farmers and as well as the commercial farmers, they produce altogether 50 metric ton of coffee. And their main markets are the private companies, including the big restaurants, hotels, and exporters, which are based in the capital of Nepal. And they are also coordinating with the coffee cooperatives existing in Nepal for their marketing of their coffee, and some of the local hotels and shops as well as the retails and wholesale shops are also the major market of their coffee. So regarding the EUDR, as in the previous presentations, our farmers are unaware of the EUDR requirements and guidelines. So going through the EUDR, we feel that it is a stricter and the complex regulation and procedures in EUDR, due to which most of the farmers, like every farmers are not aware of the requirements and guidelines of the EUDR. So as I had a question to the ICO representative about the traceability, because we could not get the actual data, means the coffee is produced in the deforested land or not. We couldn't get the origin of the agricultural products and their supply chains to ensure that they are not linked with the deforestation. So this is one of the problem. And also the farmers who are involved in the coffee production, there is very less or inadequate technical knowledge for the compliance with the EUDR. Similarly, the financial constraint, which means the transition from the sustainable practice and maintaining the deforestation-free supply chains can be very costly, because they have to manage these shades for the coffee and different kinds of things. There may be the financial constraints and capacity building. So capacity building of the farmer organization as well as the farmers to get used to of the EUDR requirements in Nepal. And also the time constraint. So it may also take time to adopt a new regulation by the small farmers. So we need the support from every level, every relevant stakeholders for this for to adopt EU requirements. For example, at the NFO level, we can work for raising awareness of the farmers regarding the EUDR, as well as providing the technical assistance to the coffee producers. For example, integrated coffee farm. So from the government side, also the main problem at the government is that the government has a different kinds of offices, different kinds of services at the local level, but they are unaware of the coffee production. So the major role of the government is to provide the technical human resources at all the level of the government, and also to make easily accessible the government subsidies for the coffee producers, especially in the startups, and also facilitates in developing the traceability system. Also, the role of the private sector is that they ensure the coffee markets, especially for coffee produced by adopting EUDR regulations. So, for example, they can promote the EUDR adapted coffee produced by the farmers, or they can set this pricing system that the coffee produced by complying the EUDR requirements will get the more price or somewhat like that. This is some of the example only. So the next is the local organization in Nepal. So I have listed only some of the local organization, that is National Tea and Coffee Board, Development Board of Nepal. So this board should be involved in the research and study about the EUDR and how we can adopt how the farmers, the small farmers in the rural area can adopt this the EUDR regulation, and also the technical assistance to the farmers for the compliance of EUDR in the national policies for coffee. So there is also the presence of National Coffee Producers Association, so they can be also involved in raising awareness for the farmers regarding the EUDR, market linkage, and capacity development of the farmers. So there are various types, various local level cooperatives, NGOs, federations, CSOs, and other relevant stakeholders who can technically as well as financially support the coffee producers in their respective areas. Similarly, we can engage with the ICO technical working group through the capacity building, trainings, and technology transfer. So this can be the platform for the transfer of technology from one to another country. So the transparency and data sharing can be also carried out through this very platform. So research, study, and impact measurement can be documented and shared with the coffee producers, with the farmers, and with the different countries. And so that we can learn the good practices, we can learn the sustainable practices from other country as well. And so this ICO working group, this ICO can be the best platform to enable government as well as the private sector interaction and with adopting the collaborative approach. And this we can also work, the country can also work in the close collaboration with ICO for the quality promotion of the coffee. And at lastly, the market transparency and development can be also achieved through the ICO technical working group.
Thank you
So
so much. Thank you, Kajol. Okay, we actually are, it's already 6:11. We are supposed to end by 6. So pardon us for not being able to manage the time well. But okay, so it looks like our issues still remain in the basic issues of production, marketing, and etc. And now we are talking about the EUDR. And we really managed to have slots in the WCC. So what are we going to bring there? Why are we in so much into it? So to give us a brief overview of your presentations, what we are trying to bring as message to the WCC as coffee producers, let us call on Leo Mendoza to present the summary of FO concerns. Leo, are you ready now?
Yes, Bernie, thank you.
Okay,
let me share my screen.
The floor is yours, yes.
So, good afternoon, everyone, or late afternoon to some of us. And thank you to all the presenters for giving quite crisp but detailed presentations. Let me share my screen. Are you now seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, not this one. Sorry. Sorry. Wait a minute. How can I stop sharing?
You click the stop sharing on the top of your screen. Can you see that? Okay.
Wait a minute. Can you? Give me 1 minute to find.
It's okay.
Wait a minute.
Okay, Leo. So maybe I think there is one common theme among the presenters from the farmer organization side, and that is the absence of knowledge of farmers in terms of the EUDR, what really EUDR is all about.
Yeah.
So anyway, Leo, back to you. Yeah.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, I've tried to consolidate all of the items or the points that were presented by the different countries, and I came up with this one. I hope I have covered most of the items that were presented. For the first question, there is what are the limitations? The first one that came up is that there is lack of awareness or minimal understanding of the EUDR. And the challenges, one of the challenge is that the farmers' ability to really understand the intricacies of the EUDR. Because for most of them, they are like in India, they are tribal or indigenous people that are really into the coffee production. Next is the co-ops restricted capacity and resources hinder effective consolidation of members' produce, leading to a lack of bargaining power for improved pricing. And also escalating, it was also mentioned that cost of production are increasing, and this will be maybe further aggravated by costs that may be related to complying with the EUDR regulations. So another thing is that added expenses also that not related to production costs on certification and verification of small scale producers. And next is this the EUDR. The EUDR may restrict the entry to the markets because of the stringent rules and qualifications that are needed to enter the EU market. And next is problems or issues on data and traceability. Like in Vietnam, there is difficulty in identification of origin, since majority of the small farmers have less than 1 hectare cultivation area. So I think this is not only true with Vietnam, but true to almost all of the countries. And also there is difficulty. This will be really something that may prove to be difficult, proving that the areas planted to coffee are deforestation free. And also the last one is that the time constraint to adapting the new regulations. As we have heard in the presentation of Wolfgang, I think this will be in full effect by the middle of 2005. So 2 years is a very short time to prepare for this one. But looking at all of these limitations, we see the EUDR as a disadvantage, but we can also look at it as an opportunity on our part, because all of the countries worldwide that are producing coffee and exporting to EU will be facing the same regulation. So the first ones who will be complying with the regulation will be in a better position to penetrate the EU market. So what kind of assistance do you need to adapt to the EUDR? At the NFO level, first is like what India has presented, translate the EUDR into a local language that is comprehensible to farmers in the area. So this will really making it really simplified so as it will be understood by the small farmers. Next is raising awareness of farmers regarding the EUDR, market linkages, and capacity development of farmers. And promote the adoption of organic or agroecological farming methods alongside technology-assisted practices. Here, digital technology can also play a pivotal role, especially in data and also in the traceability. Next is strengthen the capacity of farmer organizations to aggregate and effectively market the products of small-scale farmers. This will now give them the ability to get better prices as well as also be able to be in the position to comply with the EUDR requirements. Next is encourage farmers to focus, this is from Vietnam, to focus on improving quality rather than increasing the planting areas. Because increasing the planting areas, you may be in danger of covering the non-deforestation free areas. Next is, as presented by Put, the NFO should invest in processing machines to be able to process the products of the farmers, their farmer members. For the next, for government, so the first one is to provide subsidies and assistance with infrastructure development, including access roads, tools, warehousing, and processing facilities. Government also should offer capacity building initiatives, establish market linkages, provide insurance, implement targeted subsidies. Next is institutionalized mechanism for ensuring and maintaining quality of the products, and assist small producers through certification process, not only of the certification of the products, but also on the land use rights. And engage, this one is, I think, is very important because it was mentioned by earlier that there are 3 stages or layers of evaluation, and one of it is the national laws or regulations. This can be what the government can do is to really see to it that the land use rights is also incorporated in the framework of the regulations. And next is engage small producers in policy decision-making process by the government. And this one from India, I think this is a good, also a good recommendation, is to foster the growth of domestic coffee consumption. We are not only looking at the market for EU or export market, but there is a great potential for domestic markets. Next is oversee larger corporations to prevent participation in deforestation activities. And lastly, develop policies to facilitate geographic indication areas for coffee producers. As said by Wolfgang, the first stage of this EUDR will be heavy on the data side. So I think government should play also a major role in identifying geographical areas which are free from deforestation. Next, on the private sector, mainly the comments made were facilitate market opportunities. And second is facilitate market-driven access to financing. And as mentioned by AgriCo-op, moving away from mere dole out or handout approaches. And what are the ways, the last of the questions, guide question, ways to engage with ICO technical working group. So first one is establishing a robust coffee value chain to counteract the impacts of climate change while embracing sustainable agroforestry practices. Next is ensuring the presence of small-scale farmers in both local and international industry associations. Smallholder farmers should be represented in both local and international coffee industry associations. Third is ensuring the inclusion of land rights within the framework of EUDR. Actually, this is also one of those mentioned by the earlier speakers, that ensuring the land rights should be part of it. So it is therefore needed for all of us to ensure that governments, or maybe partnering with ICO, to really see to it that we ensure that the land rights are within the consideration of EUDR. And next is support farmers small farmers in complying with EUDR, and also to help them explore export opportunities. And lastly, transparency and data sharing, not only within country, but also among the countries covered by the ICO. So that ends my presentation. I hope this covers most of the items that were presented, but this will be further digested to enable us to come up with the messaging that we will be presenting to the WCC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much,
Back to you,
David.
Brent.
It's very comprehensive. But by the way, Kajol, we would like to ask for a copy of your PowerPoint presentation. I hope you can send it to Junie and to Amir. Okay, so thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yes, I have already shared.
Okay, thank you so much. So now to close our consultation today, let us call on Lani Rebagay and also some ways forward. Okay. Lani.
Yes, so good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much. Congratulations for a very, very rich presentation. No? We truly appreciate this kind of presentation where we really get data from the ground. See how rich the data that you have produced. No, this calls for 1 month research, but with you, with the farmers, cooperatives, you have the data because you have really a working service and partnership with coffee farmer. So first, thank you very much for sharing this valuable data, which we can use as evidence when we talk to decision maker. I have only one slide to summarize everything, apart from being grateful and thank you for all the very, very good presentation. The message is let's work together. We need to consolidate ourselves, no? Consolidate small-scale farmers into strong cooperatives and federation at the national and regional level to make sure that the small-scale coffee producers are not left behind while ensuring sustainable, healthy coffee production. I think one reflection I have for this afternoon is that we are not causing deforestation. It is not the small-scale coffee producers that are causing deforestation. Therefore, if we can only prove that the kind of coffee production that we have is not contributing to deforestation, then we will have an edge, a competitive edge to other producers. But we need to have evidence. And this evidence is a way of complying to this no deforestation. And there's a cost to this. No, we need to work together with our governments, because once we are able to prove it, then we become more competitive to other coffee producers. And on the other hand, if we show evidence that we are not contributing to deforestation, perhaps we can demand that we be compensated for protecting the forest. So there should also be another way of looking at it. If they are exacting cost for proving that we are not deforesting through our production, then there should also be an incentive for compensating us for protecting the environment. So that's also another advocacy. So we need to have data to show that the small-scale farmers are not contributing to the deforestation. In fact, we are the one protecting the forest through the kind of coffee production that we are doing. So the last word is yes to small-scale coffee producer, yes to deforestation, and yes to good coffee, and yes to a good start of a day. So thank you very much, and let's work together to deliver all these very good messages to the World Coffee Conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lani, and thank you everyone for joining us today. And let's see each other again in our future activities, and hope you can all attend the WCC in India. Okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye bye.
Hi,
everyone.
hi.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Supal.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
Yeah,
everyone.
bye. See you tomorrow.
Bye.